My husband slept with my sister, so I let them believe I didn't know. Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. I'm standing at the kitchen counter, slicing strawberries for breakfast, and I can hear them whispering on the terrace. They think I can't hear. They think I don't know. But I know everything. The phone in my apron pocket is recording every word. It has been for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks since I stopped being the naive wife who believed in fairy tales and became someone else entirely. Someone colder. Someone smarter. Let me start from the beginning. I met David 7 years ago at a charity gala. He was the kind of man who commanded attention without demanding it. Tall, confident, with eyes that actually listened when you spoke. He worked in corporate law, drove a sensible but expensive car, and had a smile that made me feel like I was the only woman in the room. Our courtship was textbook romance. Weekend trips to vineyards, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. He proposed on a beach in Santorini, the sunset painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. I said yes before he finished asking. I had never been so certain of anything in my life. We married the following spring in a ceremony that made our mothers cry and our friends envious. The dress was ivory lace, the flowers were peonies, and when David kissed me at the altar, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. We honeymooned in Bali for 2 weeks, making love on silk sheets and promises about our future. The first 5 years were good, better than good. We bought a house with a wraparound porch and a garden I spent weekends tending. David made partner at his firm. We hosted dinner parties where friends lingered long after dessert, reluctant to leave the warmth we'd created. Sunday mornings meant pancakes and the crossword puzzle, his hand on my thigh while we debated whether 7 across was ardent or fervent. We talked about children. Not yet, we'd say, but soon. After the promotion. After the renovation. After. My sister Sarah was a constant presence in our lives. She'd always been the wilder one, the one who took risks while I played it safe. Growing up, I was the straight A student while she snuck out to parties. I went to a state university while she backpacked through Europe with money she'd saved from bartending. She had a string of failed relationships and an apartment she could barely afford. But she laughed louder than anyone I knew and could light up a room just by walking into it. I loved her. God help me, I loved her. When she lost her job last year, some startup that went under, David, was the one who suggested she stay with us while she got back on her feet. The guest room was empty, he said. Family helps family, he said. I agreed without hesitation. Sarah was my baby sister. I'd always protected her, even when we were kids, and she'd get into trouble. This was just another time she needed me. She moved in on a Tuesday in October. I helped her carry boxes up the stairs, laughing as we reminisced about the junk she'd accumulated over the years. She still had the porcelain cat I'd given her for her 16th birthday. She'd kept it all this time. That first month was like having a permanent sleepover. We'd stay up late drinking wine and watching terrible reality TV while David worked in his study. We cooked elaborate meals together, dancing around the kitchen to music from our teenage years. She'd braid my hair like she used to when we were little. I'd never felt closer to her. David seemed to enjoy having her around too. He'd joke with her at breakfast, tease her about her perpetual lateness to everything. The 3 of us would sit on the terrace in the evenings, talking about nothing and everything. Sometimes I'd look at them and feel this overwhelming gratitude that the 2 people I loved most in the world got along so well. I was so fucking blind. The first crack appeared 3 months ago, though I didn't recognize it as such at the time. I came home early from a dentist appointment to find the house unusually quiet. David's car was in the driveway, and so was Sarah's beaten-up Honda. I called out but got no answer. The living room was empty. The kitchen was empty. I was heading upstairs when I heard laughter from the backyard light, breathless, the kind of laughter that feels almost intimate. I found them by the pool. Sarah was in her bikini, the red one that showed off her figure. David was handing her a towel. They were standing close, too close. But when they saw me, they jumped apart like teenagers caught doing something they shouldn't. "Babe, you're home early," David said, his smile just a fraction too wide. "Just went for a swim," Sarah added quickly. "It's so hot today." I brushed it off. I actually laughed and said something about wishing I'd been here to join them. I went inside and started dinner, pushing away the tiny voice in my head that whispered that something felt wrong. Over the next few weeks, I noticed other things. Small things. The way David's eyes would follow Sarah when she left a room. The way Sarah started dressing differently, around the house tighter tops, shorter shorts. The inside jokes they developed that I wasn't part of. The way their laughter would stop abruptly when I walked into a room. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was reading too much into nothing. David loved me. Sarah was my sister. These were the two people I trusted most in the world, but the voice in my head grew louder. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday. David said he had to work late on a case. Sarah said she was meeting friends for drinks downtown. I stayed home alone, which was fine. I took a long bath, read a book, went to bed early. I woke up at 2 a.m. needing water. The house was dark and silent. I padded downstairs in bare feet, not bothering to turn on lights because I knew the path by heart. That's when I heard it. Low voices from the terrace, whispers and soft laughter. The sound of the outdoor sofa creaking. I should have turned on the lights. I should have stormed out there and demanded to know what was happening. Instead, I crept to the window and looked out. My husband and my sister were tangled together on the terrace sofa. His hand was in her hair. Her leg was hooked over his hip. They were kissing like they were drowning, and each other was air. I watched for maybe 30 seconds before I backed away from the window. I walked upstairs on legs that didn't feel like mine. I climbed back into bed and lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding so hard, I thought it might crack my ribs. I didn't cry. Not then. I was too shocked to cry. 20 minutes later, I heard David slip into bed beside me. He smelled like her perfume. He pressed a kiss to my shoulder and whispered, "Sorry I'm so late, babe. Case is killing me." I pretended to be asleep. The next morning, I woke up different. The woman who had fallen asleep the night before, naive, trusting, happy, was gone. In her place was someone else. Someone who smiled over coffee and asked David how his case was going while mentally cataloging every lie that fell from his lips. Someone who hugged Sarah goodbye when she left for a job interview and felt nothing but ice where love used to be. I could have confronted them. I could have screamed and thrown them both out, but something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the need to understand the full scope of their betrayal before I acted. Or maybe it was something darker, the desire to hurt them the way they were hurting me. So I stayed silent, and I started planning. The first thing I did was set up the recording app on my phone. I started leaving it in strategic places around the house, tucked behind cookbooks in the kitchen, balanced on the windowsill near the terrace, hidden in the living room bookshelf. I learned their patterns. Wednesday afternoons when I had my standing hair appointment. Sunday mornings when I went to the farmer's market. Friday evenings when I had book club. Those were their times. I collected hours of recordings, their whispered confessions of desire, their jokes about how oblivious I was, their plans to be together. "Just a little longer," David would say. "We need to be smart about this." And Sarah would sigh and agree, and they'd console themselves with their hands on each other. I also started documenting everything else. I set up a camera in the guest room, disguised as an alarm clock. I installed tracking software on David's phone when he left it on the kitchen counter. I hired a private investigator with cash I'd been skimming from the household account. I took screenshots of every suspicious text, every deleted call log, every lie. The evidence piled up like kindling. I was building a funeral pyre, and I was going to burn them both. But here's what surprised me most. I was good at this. The lying, the pretending, the long game. All my life, I'd been the nice one, the accommodating one, the one who avoided conflict. Turned out I had a gift for deception. I just needed the right motivation. I played my role flawlessly. I was the loving wife who packed David's lunch and asked about his day. I was the supportive sister who helped Sarah with her resume and celebrated when she finally got a job offer. I organized date nights with David dinners at our favorite restaurants where I'd hold his hand across the table while he lied to my face. I planned sister days with Sarah spa appointments and shopping trips where she'd try on lingerie, and I'd know exactly who she was buying it for. They never suspected a thing. The psychological game was exquisite. I'd drop tiny hints just to watch them squirm. "You two have been spending a lot of time together lately," I'd say with a smile. "I'm so glad you get along." I'd watch the color drain from their faces, watch them exchange panicked glances, watch them scramble to reassure me that it was nothing, just nothing. I'd ask Sarah about her love life. "Anyone special?" I'd probe. "You've been so happy lately." She'd blush and change the subject, and I'd let her, savoring her discomfort. I'd initiate sex with David and call out his name with the same passion I always had, but inside I felt nothing. He was a stranger now, a stranger whose every touch left invisible bruises. But I performed beautifully because I needed him to believe nothing had changed. The recordings got worse. More explicit, more damning, more cruel. "I feel bad sometimes," Sarah said once, her voice soft on the tape. "She's my sister." "I know," David replied, "but we can't help how we feel. This thing between us, it's real. What I have with her, it's just comfortable, safe, but it's not passion, not like this. Comfortable, safe. Two words that once meant security now felt like insults. "When will you tell her?" Sarah asked. "Soon," David said. "I'm just waiting for the right time. I need to make sure everything's in order first. The house, the assets. I can't risk her taking everything in a divorce." So that was his plan. String me along while he quietly secured his finances. Make sure he could leave me without losing too much. My husband, the lawyer, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Too bad I was thinking 5 steps ahead. I consulted my own lawyer, a woman David had never met, in a practice on the other side of town. I paid her in cash. We had long meetings where I laid out everything I'd discovered. She helped me understand what I was entitled to under state law. We discussed strategy. "You've got him," she said, reviewing the evidence. "This is airtight. Adultery, deception, financial manipulation. You're going to walk away from this very well-positioned." "I don't just want to walk away well-positioned," I told her. "I want to destroy him." She smiled. "Then let's talk about how to do that." I moved money. Not all of it, nothing that would raise flags. Just enough. Transferred to accounts David didn't know about. I documented every shared asset. I made copies of every important document. I built my exit strategy brick by brick. And I planned the revelation. Our 7th wedding anniversary was coming up in November. A Saturday. David had suggested we have a big party. Invite friends, family, celebrate our love. He probably thought it would make him look like a devoted husband, provide cover for his affair. Perfect. "Let's do it," I told him. "Let's make it a night to remember." I threw myself into planning the party with enthusiasm that wasn't entirely fake. After all, I was genuinely excited. Just not for the reasons they thought. I rented out our favorite restaurant, the one where David had proposed. I ordered an elaborate menu. I invited 60 people, our friends, our family, David's colleagues, Sarah's friends. I hired a photographer. I created a slideshow of photos from our relationship, our wedding day, our honeymoon, holidays, birthdays. 7 years of life together, 7 years of lies. The night of the party, I dressed in a red dress that hugged every curve. I did my makeup flawlessly. I looked like a woman celebrating her marriage, not planning its destruction. David looked handsome in his suit. He kissed me when I came downstairs. "You look beautiful," he said. "I'm a lucky man." Sarah helped me with final preparations. She'd bought a new dress, too, emerald green, low cut. She hugged me. "I'm so happy for you guys," she said. 7 years. That's amazing. The lies tasted like ash in the air. The party was perfect. Friends toasted us. David's mother cried happy tears. We danced to our wedding song while everyone watched and applauded. David held me close and whispered, "Here's to 7 more years." I smiled against his chest. "Oh, I don't think so." He pulled back, confused. "What?" "Nothing," I said sweetly. "Just that I think our future is going to look very different from our past." He laughed, not understanding. "Not yet." After dinner, after the cake, after the champagne, I stood up and tapped my glass for attention. The room quieted. 60 faces turned toward me, expectant and smiling. "Thank you all so much for being here tonight," I began. My voice was steady. 7 years ago, I married the man I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. I married someone I trusted completely, someone I loved with everything I had. David was smiling up at me, proud. Sarah was watching from across the room, wine glass in hand. "I wanted to share something special with all of you tonight," I continued. "A little retrospective of our marriage. The good times, the private moments, the truth." I nodded to the AV guy I'd hired. The lights dimmed. The screen behind me flickered to life. But it wasn't the slideshow of photos David was expecting. It was audio. Crystal clear audio from my recordings, playing over a black screen with white text transcribing every word. Sarah's voice filled the room. "I can't stop thinking about you." David's voice. "I know. I can't either. This is driving me crazy." "What are we going to do?" "I don't know. But I can't give this up. I can't give you up." The room had gone completely silent. I watched David's face drain of color. I watched Sarah's wine glass slip from her fingers and shatter on the floor. "That's interesting," I said conversationally over the audio, "because that was recorded 6 weeks ago, in my house, on my terrace." I let another clip play, and another. Pieces of different conversations, out of context but damning. David saying he needed to protect his assets before divorcing me. Sarah saying she felt guilty but not guilty enough to stop. David describing our sex life as routine and boring. Sarah laughing about how clueless I was. 3 minutes of audio. 3 minutes that felt like hours. When I stopped the playback, the silence was suffocating. 60 people staring at David and Sarah with expressions ranging from shock to disgust to pity. But none of the pity was for them. "Surprise," I said quietly. "Happy anniversary to me." David stood up, his chair scraping back. "Babe, wait. I can explain." "Don't." My voice cut like glass. "Don't call me babe. Don't insult me with explanations. I've heard them all already. I've been listening for months." Sarah was crying, mascara streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry," she choked out. "I never meant—" "You never meant to get caught," I corrected. "Let's be clear about that. You meant every kiss, every lie, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended to care about me while you were fucking my husband." Gasps rippled through the room. David's mother looked like she might faint. My own mother was staring at Sarah with an expression of pure horror. "I've filed for divorce," I continued, my voice eerily calm. "My lawyer has all the evidence. Audio, video, text messages, bank statements showing the hotel rooms David paid for. Everything. And in this state, adultery means he's not getting the clean split he was hoping for. The house? Mine. The savings? Mine. The car? Mine. The retirement accounts? We'll split them, but given the circumstances, my lawyer thinks I have a strong case for more than half." I turned to look at David directly. "You wanted to protect your assets before leaving me? Too bad. You should have left before you started fucking my sister. Now you get to leave with nothing but each other. Then I looked at Sarah, my baby sister, the girl I'd protected my whole life. You can keep living in the guest room, I said. Oh wait, no you can't, because the house is mine. You have 30 days to find a new place. That should be enough time, right? I mean, I'm sure David's new apartment will have room for you. Although once his money runs out, and he's just another failed lawyer who cheated on his wife with her sister, you might find he's not quite as attractive. I picked up my purse and my phone. Where are you going? David asked desperately. Away from you, I said simply. The party's over, but please, everyone else, stay. Enjoy the food. Drink the expensive champagne. It's already paid for. Think of it as a celebration of new beginnings. I walked out of that restaurant with my head high and my heart hammering. I didn't look back. Behind me, I could hear voices rising, David trying to explain, Sarah sobbing, someone's aunt saying loudly that she'd always known there was something off about that marriage. I got in my car now, paid off and titled in my name, and drove to the hotel where I'd booked a room. I'd already moved some of my clothes there, some of my important possessions. I'd been preparing for this moment for weeks. It wasn't until I was alone in that hotel room, door locked, shoes kicked off, that I let myself break down. I cried for the marriage I'd lost, for the sister I'd never really had, for the life I'd built that had been nothing but a lie, for the woman I'd been, naive and trusting and happy, but I also cried from relief, because it was finally over. The pretending, the recording, the constant hypervigilance. I could stop now. I could start healing. The fallout was spectacular. The story spread like wildfire. In our circle, at David's firm, through Sarah's friends. I became either a hero or a cautionary tale, depending on who you asked. The scorned wife who'd turned the tables, the woman who'd planned the perfect revenge. David tried to call me hundreds of times those first few days. I blocked his number. Sarah sent long, rambling texts about how sorry she was, how it just happened, how they didn't mean to hurt me. I deleted them without reading past the first few lines. My mother called, crying, asking how she'd raised a daughter who could do such a thing to her own sister. I reminded her which daughter had actually done something to whom. She didn't have much to say after that. David's career took a hit. Turns out corporate law firms don't love partners who commit adultery with their wife's sister and then get publicly destroyed at their anniversary party. He didn't get fired, but he didn't make the short list for managing partner either. His reputation was damaged goods. Sarah lost some friends, gained some to people love a scandal, and she played the role of misguided woman who'd fallen for the wrong man. Some people bought it, most didn't. As for me, I got everything I wanted from the divorce. The house, most of the money, a clean break. David's lawyer tried to fight, but the evidence was overwhelming. My lawyer was ruthless. We settled in 4 months. The first few months after were hard. I was angry all the time, grief-stricken, questioning everything. I went to therapy. I talked it out. I learned that I hadn't been wrong to trust them. They'd been wrong to betray me. That their choices were not a reflection of my worth. Slowly, I started to rebuild. I redecorated the house, erasing every trace of David. I painted the guest room where Sarah had stayed, turning it into a home office. I planted new flowers in the garden. I adopted a cat, something David had always said no to. I traveled. Paris, Tokyo, Iceland. Places I'd always wanted to go, but David had found excuses to avoid. I ate at restaurants alone and didn't feel self-conscious. I made new friends who didn't know my story, who only knew the woman I was now. I dated, eventually. Nothing serious. I wasn't ready for serious. But it was nice to remember that not everyone was a liar. That attraction and trust could coexist. That I deserved to be chosen, not just convenient. Sarah tried to reach out once, about a year after everything. A letter, handwritten, 10 pages of apologies and explanations. I read it once and then burned it in the fireplace. Some betrayals don't earn forgiveness. Some doors, once closed, stay locked forever. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she and David had tried to make it work. Moved in together, but it fell apart within 6 months. Turns out when you build a relationship on lies and betrayal, it doesn't have a strong foundation. They had nothing to bond over once the thrill of secrecy was gone. No shared values, no real connection. Just guilt and resentment, and the ghost of me between them. David tried to date someone new. It didn't last. His reputation preceded him. As for me, I don't think about them much anymore. Sometimes I'll see something that reminds me a song, a place, and I'll feel a twinge. But it's distant now, like an old scar that only aches when it rains. I'm not bitter. I was, for a long time. But bitterness is exhausting, and I got tired of carrying it. Instead, I'm grateful. Grateful I found out when I did. Grateful I had the strength to leave. Grateful I didn't waste more years on a marriage that was already dead. My life now is smaller but fuller. I have friends who would never betray me. I have work I'm passionate about. I have a home that's truly mine, filled with things I've chosen. I have peace. Sometimes people ask if I regret how I handled it. The revenge, the public humiliation, the cold calculation of it all. I don't. They chose to betray me in the cruelest way possible. I chose to protect myself and take back my power. They chose to lie to my face for months. I chose to control the narrative of my own life. Could I have handled it differently? Sure. I could have confronted them privately. I could have left quietly. I could have been the bigger person. But they didn't deserve my kindness. They'd forfeited that the moment they decided I was disposable. What they got instead was my strength, my intelligence, my refusal to be a victim in my own story. I let them believe I didn't know. I let them think they were so clever, so careful. I let them underestimate me. And then I showed them exactly what a mistake that was. Some people might call what I did cruel. I call it justice. I'm not the woman I was 7 years ago, standing at an altar in ivory lace, believing in forever. That woman is gone. She died the night I watched my husband and sister together on the terrace and felt my heart turn to ice. In her place is someone stronger, someone who knows her worth, someone who refuses to settle for anything less than she deserves, someone who learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't moving on and finding happiness, though that's good too. Sometimes the best revenge is letting them know that you knew all along, that you were 10 steps ahead, that they never fooled you. They thought they were writing my story, casting me as the oblivious wife, the pathetic sister, the woman too stupid to see what was right in front of her. Instead, I wrote my own ending, and I made damn sure they'd remember it.